Here are 50 powerful study tips that can be used to level up your studying. And I'm curious, just before I start, what's your best study tip? Let us know in the comments and we can all learn from each other. So I'm not going to waste any more time, let's get into it. Make your studying interesting. Burying your head in a thick textbook may be the conventional way of studying, but in order to keep it up long term, your studying needs to be interesting. Watch documentaries on your topic area, watch YouTube videos, listen to podcasts on the subject. There are so many ways of studying than just reading textbooks. Use relationship diagrams. Using diagrams that illustrate how pieces of information relate with other information is a great way of being able to achieve a far deeper understanding of a subject or topic. Socialize and party, and yes, this is important at university. Remember, university is not all about studying and grades. Socializing will help you grow a completely different set of skills than studying will, but at the same time, it's important that you find the right balance. So for long-term performance, it's important that you're happy and you're not restricting yourself too much from socializing because it can have a detrimental effect on your mental health. Try a brain dump. Write down all the ideas, thoughts, and information and facts you have on a topic. A brain dump can also get your ideas onto paper and make it easier to organize them. And this is particularly helpful just before you start writing an assignment. Team up with others. Another powerful study tip that I utilized a lot at university. Get a couple of friends in a room and brainstorm ideas for the new assignment that has just been set. You'll often find other people come up with ideas that you would never have thought of. Test yourself. When you're preparing for an exam, you should always be testing yourself to check what you don't know. So go through past papers or just ask yourself simple questions, but it's important to be completely honest with yourself when testing yourself. Put your phone on silence, and maybe the most obvious study tip on the list, it doesn't really need explaining. Create a productive routine. As soon as you wake up in the morning, your morning routine should make sure you don't have time to procrastinate. The same goes during the day and at night time also. Having a productive daily routine is incredibly beneficial if you want to do well at university, and it makes your day flow so much smoother. And actually, I talk about creating an effective study routine in a video I uploaded recently on 7 daily habits of high performance students. You can click on the pop-out banner to watch it. Switch off social media. Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, they're all massive ways to procrastinate. And if you are struggling to find enough hours in the day to get all of your studying done, but you spend hours on social media, then you know what to do. Start revision early. And when I mean early, I mean months before an exam. It's the easiest way to have a relatively stress-free time at university. I was never really worried about exams approaching because I started revising for them well before anyone else. And if you find yourself having to pull overnighters to cram in last-minute revision before an exam, then you probably need to review your studying strategy. Immerse yourself. Using immersion to consume new material can be an extremely effective way of learning. It involves whatever you're studying at university. Make sure everything you do involves that subject. So the books that you read, the films that you watch, the podcasts that you listen to, they should all be about the subject that you're studying. And this method is often used when you're learning a new language. It's very useful for that, but it can also be useful for pretty much every part of studying too. Zoom and check. Skim quickly through a chapter of a book that you need to read. Your goal isn't to process and retain the information, but to notice what you don't already know. If more than a few ideas are completely new to you, then you should probably go back and spend more time on that chapter. Change your study space. You need somewhere that is comfortable, but not too comfortable. So studying on your bed, for example, is probably not a very good idea. If you're always studying in the same place, try changing your environment, like studying at a coffee shop or moving to another part of the house, going to the library to study, or even going outside to the local park. It can make your studying that bit more enjoyable. Join a study group. And studying doesn't always have to be an individual activity. It can often be far more enjoyable and effective when studying with a friend or in a small group. You can share ideas, explain the material to each other, quiz each other, and ask questions about things you don't understand. And this can all lead to learning the material far more quickly than you might have on your own. And you probably have more fun in the process too. If you do have a friend or group of friends to study with already, consider sharing this video with them to help them out too. Snack on brain food. Snacking as you work is a great way to keep your studying enjoyable, as well as keeping your energy levels up so you can study for longer. So fruits, nuts, or even dark chocolate, for example, can be great options. Try to choose snacks which will power your brain and keep you focused. So stay clear of foods that are high in sugar, fats, and processed carbs. Use acronyms. Acronyms are a great way of efficiently remembering lists or specific information that need to be remembered in a certain order. I used so many acronyms when I was studying for my exams, like PASOS, Prepare prepare, explain, show, observe, and supervise. Treat university like it's your job, because it is your job. I went to the library at university 6 days a week with no exceptions, because once you graduate and you're working full time, you're not going to have that option of skipping work just because you feel like it. And this is good practice, and it helps build self-discipline too. Exercise daily. John Ratey, professor at Harvard University, says that exercise improves learning on 3 levels. First, it optimizes your mindset to improve alertness, attention, and motivation. Second, it prepares and encourages nerve cells to bind to one another, which is the cellular base for logging in new information. And third, it spurs the development of new cells from the stem cells in the hippocampus. In short, not only does exercise help the brain get ready to learn, but it actually makes retaining information easier. In short, not only does exercise actually help you sit down and study in the first place, but when you are studying, it actually makes retaining information a lot easier. Use diagrams. Diagrams are really effective for sorting out large pieces of information. They can turn a set of boring notes into a creative and colourful diagram where the information is far easier to learn and process and retain for the exam. Write out a task list. If you have a list of things that you know you need to do, write them out the day before. And that way, as soon as you wake up in the morning, you know exactly what you need to do, and you're not going to forget to do them. The most important tasks should always be done first. Make connections. Think about what you're learning and don't just memorize each individual fact, but sit back and think about how they all fit together. It will help you understand the material on a far deeper level. Consider finding a tutor. If you really are stuck in a rut with your studying and you've tried everything you can to get yourself out of it, then I always suggest asking for help. Start off with asking your friends and then your lecturers, and if you're still stuck, consider finding a private tutor to help you. It could be just the boost you need to get you back on track. Study in chunks. Studies have shown that we can only stay focused for around 25 minutes before our concentration starts to fade. So study in blocks of 20 minutes and take a 5-minute break after every block. It will let your mind absorb what you have just learned, and it will allow you to stay focused for longer. Practice meditation. A 2012 study by Canadian researchers showed that those that meditate can stay focused for longer periods of time. It can also help with keeping you calm before an exam or deadline that's approaching. Use background noise. I always have some kind of quiet music on when I'm studying. It helps me to focus, and honestly, I don't like complete silence. The only time that I have complete silence is when I'm filming a video like this. And I know other people like listening to nature sounds such as ocean waves or the rain. Just whatever you're listening to, make sure it's not your favorite pop song or you'll just end up singing along. Ask why. Have you ever met one of those annoying kids that keeps asking why to everything you say? Well, maybe it's time for you to become that annoying kid, because asking why significantly helps your understanding of a topic. Find your most productive time in the day. Everyone has the time in the day where they have the most energy, and also times in the day where their energy levels drop. So find when you're at your most focused and when you have the most energy, and try to schedule your most important tasks at this time. Study every day. Even if it's just 1 hour, studying every day will keep the information fresh in your mind. And even if you have a day off, studying 1 hour in the morning to recap the most important pieces of information you need for an exam is a really effective use of that 1 hour. Use past papers. Another study tip that I owe my grades to when I was studying at university, I would gather as many past papers for the course as I could and practice the questions on the paper. I often found that certain questions kept coming up, so I spent more time studying those specific questions because there was a good chance that they would come up again. And I also went through past papers in exam conditions and marked them using the mark scheme. It was a good way of highlighting my weakest areas, so I'd work on improving them. Swap topics regularly. So keeping your brain trained on the same information for long periods of time can be boring. During a long study session, it's often more effective to jump from one subject to another to stop yourself from getting bored. Study to learn, not for the exam. And too many students just study because they have to for their exam, but university is so much more than that. The information you're learning and the skills that you're picking up along the way will be fundamental to your success in the future. Watch motivational videos, and maybe I'm biased because this channel started off as a motivational channel, but motivation videos can really help give you that extra boost of motivation you need to open your textbook and go and study. So I used to watch one every morning, one motivational video every morning before I started studying, and it would put me in the right frame of mind to start off my day. Set goals. A pretty obvious study tip, and one of the most effective on this whole list. Your brain likes to know where it's going, and goals help to accomplish this. These can be daily goals, weekly goals, even yearly goals. And my yearly goal at university was to achieve an overall 4.0 GPA, and I'd set smaller daily goals to achieve the yearly goals, like studying for at least 8 hours, 7 7 days a week. Make sure you're actually studying. It can be too easy to open a textbook and stare at it blankly or skim through it but not actually process any of the information. And if you find you've stopped concentrating, get up, have a drink, do some exercise, go and eat, and then go back to it. Always be improving. When was the last time you got a bad grade in an exam? Did you ask yourself why you got that grade? Was it due to lack of preparation, or did you have problems understanding that subject? Whatever the reason, you should always be working on improving your studying. The grades you're getting are a direct result of the studying you put into it. Your grades are your responsibility, not anyone else's, so hold yourself accountable and start working towards improving your weaknesses. Watch more YouTube. So YouTube is an incredible way of learning about pretty much anything you want to learn about. Just make sure that your time in YouTube is spent wisely and not binge watching cat videos. Stick post-it notes everywhere. Write down the most important things that you need to memorize on post-it notes and stick them everywhere. Your bedroom, your bathroom, your kitchen. So wherever you are, whatever you're doing, brushing your teeth, cooking, going to bed, you can still be preparing for your exam. Eat a small meal before you study. So when you eat a big meal before you study, often your body digesting the food can consume a lot of energy and make you feel tired and lethargic. So try eating a small healthy meal before you study to keep your energy levels up. Get enough sleep. And we all know this by now, not getting enough sleep has been shown to impact memory and decrease your ability to focus on your studying. So make sure you're getting your 7 to 9 hours of sleep at night. It's as simple as prioritizing the time you go to bed at night, and if you can, make sure you go to bed and wake up at the same time 7 days a week. Drink more water. And studies have shown that a dehydrated brain can't focus as well as a hydrated brain. You should be aiming for at least 8 glasses of water a day, and even more if you're living in a hot climate. Learn model answers. If you're lucky enough to receive model exam answers from your lecturer, or you can find them online, then make good use of them. Learn from the model answers to see what examiners want. And if you're lucky, you might learn to write your own model answers too. Go out and get fresh air. If you're struggling to focus, take a walk outside, change your focus, get your blood flowing, and get some fresh air. I've often been struggling with a maths problem, and I keep working on it, and I can't seem to figure it out. But then I take a 5-minute break, and I come back, and I solve it almost immediately. Actively renew your material. So when you're reviewing your notes for an exam, do an active review, not a passive review. Passive review is just rereading your notes. So an active review, on the other hand, is where you read your notes, then you move them out of sight and see if you can recall what you just read. It will engage the brain more and help you memorize the material better. It will also highlight where your weaknesses are. Use color. Writing your notes with different coloured pens, diagrams, charts and graphs helps liven up your notes and makes them far more interesting to look at and to learn from. Reward yourself. Studies have shown that giving yourself a reward for reaching milestones helps you enjoy your effort more. Achieved a high grade in an exam? Then reward yourself with a day off or buying something that you've wanted to buy for a long time. Attend lectures. I put extra effort into going to every single lecture. The biggest reason was because sometimes the lecturer would talk about topics that would be on the exam or give us pointers on how to get higher marks in an assignment, for example. And it's these golden nuggets of information that made attending lectures worthwhile. Try spaced repetition. One of the most useful study techniques I used while at university, I would quickly memorize some information until I could just barely remember it. And then I would, every 3 or 4 days, go back to it to refresh my memory. And it's an extremely time efficient way of memorizing information. And it's how I was able to memorize vast amounts of information in a relatively short period of time. Teach it. Find a friend or family member to teach what you've learned. Being able to explain a very complex concept in simple, easy to understand terminology shows that you understand what you're talking about. And encourage them to ask questions too. Any questions that you don't know the answer to may highlight areas that you need to brush up on. Practice as you go. Remember these sets of questions at the end of each chapter of a textbook that you always skip over? Well, they're there for a reason. It's a good idea to practice questions as you go along with your revision rather than leaving them all until the end. Look after yourself. When you're cramming for an exam, it can be easy to forget about looking after yourself, but make sure you're getting enough sleep, you're eating eating healthily, you're exercising, and you're fitting in adequate social time too. So there you have it, 50 powerful study tips. If you have a friend that needs a bit of a push with their studying, then show you care and help them out by sending them this link to this video. And if you are still struggling with procrastination, then I made a video last month how I can study for 14 hours a day, which basically goes through how I was able to train myself to go from struggling to even concentrate for 30 minutes to being able to study for 40 hours in a single day. You can click on the video on the screen, I think you're going to love it, and I'll see you over there.